Controversy, scandal, mayhem. I got some bad news for boxing fans. If you are looking forward to Gervonta Tank Davis versus Jake Paul, you might want to pump your brakes. New reports have just burst onto the internet. This is hot and fresh off the presses. Gervonta Davis may end up being replaced, and Netflix wants to cancel Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis fight scheduled to happen this month in a few weeks, because today is officially November 1st. In this video, I'm going to break down everything the fans want to know. I'll cite the sources. Let's go. I ain't got no time to waste. Chris Mannix, reporter for DAZN, NBC, and Sports Illustrated. And you can see Tank Davis is currently trending. Now, I'm not going to get into the details too much because I've already made a video. Listen, I don't do these videos for my health. I put out the content for the world to learn about boxing, be informed with boxing news. Tank has some kind of ex-girlfriend, and she's alleging that he did some foul things that were criminal. So in a civil court, she is alleging she wants compensation. She's suing Tank Davis. Word got back to Netflix. Now Chris Mannix of Sports Illustrated is reporting Netflix reps. So per his source, reps from Netflix for Jake Paul have been exploring potential replacement opponents for Gervonta Tank Davis. Sources familiar with the situation told Sports Illustrated. Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis, scheduled for November 14th, is in limbo after new allegations of DV against Gervonta Davis, which again, I've already made content. When will you guys see I'm the best doing it? I'm the best in the business, and it's not even close. I'm not the court. I'm not the judge. I'm not a cop. I'm not a detective. So I don't know if Tank will be found liable or not. That's for the courts to decide. But I am a boxing media member and reporter, so my job is to give you guys the news of what's happening. So this is heating up, and it's not necessarily looking great for Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis. In addition, but wait, there's more. Chris Mannix says representatives for Jake Paul have made an offer for Ryan Garcia to fight Paul. So Ryan Garcia versus Jake Paul in December. Two sources with knowledge of the offer told Sports Illustrated. Ryan Garcia is not the only opponent Paul's team has approached as they aggressively pursue a replacement for Gervonta Davis. Right? So, according to these new reports, they are trying to replace Gervonta Davis in the Jake Paul fight. Now, my thoughts are very simple. For one, in these incidences, this won't be the first, won't be the last where this has come up, where a woman has had allegations against a boxer. Recently, we've seen with Devin Haney, his BM or the mother of his child or whatever said Devin Haney hit me when I was prego with his baby. And later on, this is all printed in TMZ. Later on, she says TMZ recanted. TMZ, I don't know where they got this, but he didn't harm me physically. So these situations are tricky. So I got to leave it to the fate and future and the courts to decide, because I don't know. I don't know any of these situations when I'm not present for them. So I don't know what these fighters are doing in their personal life. However, not a great look for Gervonta Davis, because Netflix, I've already went over this to people who was asking me in the DMs on social media. The reality is this: a company and big corporation like Netflix, they try to minimize their risk. So if they could cut you, but appease fans and not get people to try to cancel them or cancel their service, basically what I'm getting at, they're not going to let Tank Davis or anybody else ruin their money. So now that Tank has negative news and a negative news cycle currently going on weeks before the fight, it looks bad. I'm not saying he did this or didn't do this. I don't know. I've already discussed that and disclosed that. But from a company's sake, the economy is not even in a great place right here in America. These companies aren't trying to take no chances. They're not trying to take any risks, because if this allegation continues to grow, you could get people who start boycotting Netflix or blaming Netflix and saying, hey, Netflix, we've seen it. They'll be like, Netflix supports this and that type of behavior. The companies, they'll rather just cut you out and, find a replacement. So for Tank, that's a bad look, because now he got legal stuff to deal with, and he was going to get a pretty penny for this fight. If the fight doesn't now happen, then that's his paycheck. And then I guess he has to go back to the drawing board. So that's a downside there, is Tank could be out of a big bag by fighting Jake Paul. As far as like Ryan Garcia, I'm hearing Edgar Berlanga, Ryan Garcia, all these names being thrown out for replacement opponents. I'm not believing anything until Jake Paul says it. He seems to be the man in charge with his shows. So I follow him already. I'm truly going to just wait for his say, because there's too much speculation. There's too much in these situations, in my opinion, in boxing media. This is why boxing media looks bad, because people will throw ish on the wall hoping something sticks. And at the end of the day, it just becomes confusing to fans. What we do know is there are talks, I guess, that they are trying to replace this fight. The fight is in jeopardy. Now, if this leads to, I'm sure it depends on a couple things. Like, for one, we're probably not going to hear until they're not going to fully announce the decision until they made a decision, aka found a replacement. If they find a replacement that's suitable, that they want to rock with, then I'm sure you'll see Boxing Ego doing an updated video and give you guys the news. But if they can't find someone on short notice that is willing to fight Jake Paul under these circumstances, I don't know what will happen if they cancel the whole event or whatever. But either way, it spells trouble. I can't fault Jake Paul. Jake Paul can't be held responsible for the allegations against another man. You know what I mean? I know Jake Paul, some people like to blame him and hate on him, but this is something that someone that Tank dealt with and what they're saying. So it doesn't really fall on MVP promotion, doesn't really fall on Jake Paul. He got all these Shakurs, which I got a video. Check back in a few hours on my channel. My next video, unpacked video, I'm going to be talking about how Shakur is sparring with him and what that means, and I'm really going to go in. So it's going to be a detailed video. As far as this, I don't know. Tank's talking about retirement in some interviews. There's a girl, he's having legal problems. I don't really know. I'm not going to cast stones and say this or that, because I was not there for it. So that's how I get down. I wasn't there for it. I don't know what went on with him and some female behind the scenes. And, certain parts of the story, I will say, sound kind of fishy, in my opinion. But I can't call her a liar. I can't call him a liar. I don't have any of the details, any of the proof. But it is now being reported officially that they're trying to replace Tank. Before, it was kind of speculation, but now you're having reporters, and it's not just Mannix. There's other people who have reported that they're trying to get in and switch the opponent. If it's hard for any of you guys to understand, watch this video again. I've already explained it. A big company, like it says MVP, Netflix, all on the backdrop, all on the flyer, all in the video. Any artists want to remain artists, don't want to have to worry about the executive producer, all in the right? They're not going to put that red Netflix brand, slap it over everywhere if their name is being associated with a fight and a fighter that got an open DV case that they don't know. Now, I will say this. It is a bit unfortunate because they read you the Miranda rights in America, and they always profess is innocent until proven guilty. But nowadays, it really feels like in America, especially if you're a person of color, you black, right? It truly feels like you are presumed guilty until you're proven innocent. That's what it truly feels like. And I'm not saying this like as no sob story, because again, I don't know individually what happened in this isolated incident. But what I'm noticing more and more from cancel culture and the companies, like Tank hasn't been convicted. This hasn't went to trial. So if they ex-nay and cancel the fight and they're like, nah, we ain't rocking with it. You know, I haven't heard Tank's side. The articles from like Baller Alert and stuff, it only showed the girl side. So it's a bit unfortunate in that regard that we can hear one side and that one side may be good enough to shut down your whole operation, because that's exactly what's going to happen. Now, being fair, Tank has had other altercations and like documented incidents. So maybe Netflix takes that into consideration. Like, you've already had run-ins with the law, so we just going to assume this ain't good and we don't want our name attached to it. I don't know. I don't work for Netflix, but boxing has been a drag lately. Tank said boxing was whack. That part was definitely real. We got the Keith Thurman fight where Fundora got canceled. We got other fights where like Boots moved up, but then he fought somebody nobody really wanted to see him fight. You have possibly Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis, which should have been a big fight, possibly getting canceled. I mean, boxing just looks suspect right now. This is what the fans get. The fans are always left with, you know, broken promises and fights that happen past their prime, and it's just unfortunate. Subscribe to my channel, because as soon as we get an update if this fight's canceled or not, I'm gonna make a video. Peace.